Hear that. Wait for it to show up first.
You're streaming?
I think so. I don't see it up yet, so let's see. There we go. I got owned by an ad. Here we go. Okay. So we're going to get started here. And the first board is kind of special. So many of you guys know me. I have my own channel as well. But I'm here filling in for a week. So we have an A2141 MacBook Pro. And this is probably one of my least favorite machines to work on because the SSD is always dead. But this is something special. This probably does not have a dead SSD. Instead, this has a CD3217 that sticks at 10 volts. Not 5 volts, not 20 volts, but 10 volts. And I have a couple theories to why that might be. Now, this has already been worked on by Chris here, who's hiding behind the camera because he's scared of me fixing this board. But we're going to try and fix this, and we're going to see what happens.
True.
We're going to try and fix this and see what we can do. So, and of course I did not hit start recording, only start streaming, but that's okay because we're streaming this. Who cares? Anyway, so the very first thing that I'm thinking, okay, so all of our other ports are all 20 volts, 0.03. We have one that is gets stuck at 9.38 volts. Now, my first theory is the fact that maybe we really have 20 volts there, but the data is just not getting communicated to our USB amp meter properly. I don't know exactly how these USB amp meters work, but maybe that's the case. Maybe it's just a skewed data issue. Now, I've already worked on this board before the stream. Chris has worked on it. I already changed the one CD32 17 in question, and it'll go to 10 volts, and it goes to 5. It's almost like it's being killed, but the same results. So let's go ahead and switch over to our overhead camera. There we go. I'm going to move this light. So I'm actually going to move it this way. That's better. So very first thing we're going to do, we're going to grab our multimeter. I want to check a few things. So I'm pretty sure this is connected to power here. And our amp meter is probably right here. I don't know if you can see that. So we're at 20 volts. And watch this board probably work normally now that it's on stream. Because that's what's going to happen, right, Chris? Because guess what? Now both ports are getting to 20 volts.
What?
Yeah. No more 10 volts. Now they're all at 20 volts. Okay, so this is interesting.
Tell me the board turns on right now. And everything is
Nope,
fine with it.
20 volts, 0.01. So 20 volts, 0.01 is a terrible fault. Anyway, let's have a look. Let me check chat real quick. This is the Lewis impersonator. Wow, impressive. The cadence and vocal inflections are dead on. Goodbye. I don't know why people say that, but anyway. So the first thing, whenever I have 20 volts, 0.01. Now, this is a completely different symptom set than what I'm used to. So, anyway, let me figure out how to turn on Chris's meter. There we go. So we're going to set this to voltage. Now, the very first thing I do when I have something that's 20 volts, 0.01, something or other, I want to see if our T2 is running. And how I do this is by measuring PPBus. And if it is 12.3 volts, that means our T2 is not running properly. So at this point, 12.3, the next thing I would do is check and see if it is in recovery mode. So I'm going to grab a MacBook here, and we're going to check and see if it's in DFU or recovery mode. Now, you may ask, well, what's the difference? Well, recovery mode usually, actually, I don't want to show Chris's password on stream. I don't want to show your password on stream.
Everybody knows that password.
Really?
You know the sticker, that password is on the sticker.
Oh well. So I have Apple Configurator open here, and we're going to plug this into the master port. Now, we should work on the enclosure without the enclosure, but we'll see. Sometimes they're a little finicky and they want to be in the enclosure. So we're going to plug this into the master port. Now, the master port is going to be the bottom port. Okay, so it's going to be the bottom port right here. And we're going to see if it is in recovery or DFU mode. Now, I generally on these, okay, it is in DFU mode, Chris. It is in DFU mode, Chris.
I don't know what did you do.
Yeah, that I did. Anyway, so it is in DFU mode. If this frickin' works, you're in trouble.
Oh god.
I'm gonna grab the enclosure. Is this it? Yes.
2141, good one you have. Oh,
That's fine.
you have there like a really good.
Hmm?
You have really good one there behind you. Everything is fine with it.
This one? No, this is a 1707.
This one.
Perfect. I'll use
Everything is
this.
fine here. The battery, not the board of course, but the battery and everything. is
Cool.
fine.
Alright, let me go set this back in my slot. Okay. Thank you for the $5, Canadian Outlaw. Caleb E says, I want to watch, but I got work to do. I see you later. Yes, because you're not working for me. If you're working for me, you would be watching and taking up all my bandwidth. That's one of my employees. The one that, the good one that I want.
So he tipped you $5?
No, someone else.
Oh, okay.
Not the employee I just fired, but the one that I want to.
The good one.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm not going to care about fans or anything like that. We don't want that. What we want to make sure is plugged in is the battery, trackpad, and touch bar. Especially the trackpad. Trackpads can cause DFU restores to fail, or DFU revives to fail. We're not going to restore this. We're just going to revive it. Now, oh well, I see here that it's been forced in DFU, so that might be a problem. You forced it in DFU? You did that before the stream, didn't you? Yeah, right.
No.
Okay, I'm getting trolled. Anyway, I'm going to roll it out. It's here. I want to roll it out because it does tell me a few things. Okay, it's very clear here that people...
didn't set you up.
Uh-huh. I don't believe that. Okay, who in chat thinks Chris set me up before this stream? Because I definitely... That wire was not there before, and that's... Yeah.
It had to be.
No.
Really. I swear I didn't touch the machine since last time.
Okay. That deepens the plot then.
Which was an hour ago.
Yeah, which was an hour ago. Where's your screwdrivers?
Which one do you need?
T5.
T5? And I'm old, yeah?
Oh. Told you I can't see. I made that very clear that I have 20/70 vision. Okay, I'm never taking your word that an enclosure is beautiful because this battery is crap.
Only the connector.
Only the connector.
Only
Yeah.
the connector.
Okay. I'm being sabotaged on
You
stream.
can put a piece of wick there and screw it in.
We'll try without first. Okay. Okay, so we are going to attempt a DFU revive, not a restore or revive. And what this is going to tell me, okay, so it's going to tell me a few things. One, if the machine works and we know it was in DFU and Chris screwed up very royally, but I don't think so. I think Chris is setting me up for something. But two, if it passes and it restores successfully, that tells me that the T2 is probably okay and the NANDs are probably okay, and that does rule out a lot. But we're gonna see. We're gonna see what happens here. Now, I'm also don't have too high of hopes with this enclosure at first because the battery connector really doesn't connect very well, and yeah, I don't know, but we will see. So if it does not fail, if it does not successfully restore, we'll put in the other enclosure and see what happens. How do you read his computer in Polish? I don't know how I read. That's a mystery of the universe. So we're at about halfway. Now, you like to look for fan spin. When the fan starts spinning, that's usually a good sign. Usually when you get fan spin on a DFU machine, it usually means it's going to work. Usually if you have fan spin and then it fails, it's usually something in the enclosure. But we're just going to give it time and let it do its thing. And it's stuck halfway. So sometimes DFU restores can do this. This is semi-normal for this to happen. Let me kind of turn the screen so you can see it. This sometimes will happen. It's just something you have to wait and see what happens. So we're just going to wait and see what it does, and eventually it'll either fail or won't fail. There we go. It looks like it did restore successfully when it gets to this screen. So what I could actually do now is remove this wire, and it should work. So this essentially rules out our T2 and our or not. I don't know what it did. Let's see here. What the heck? Why is this? We are not showing a user screen. This is our DFU machine. So I'm going to remove that wire there, and we're going to see what it does. So it did not give me an error on restoring. It's a very good thing. And since it was forced in DFU, that's what it's going to essentially show if it's forced in DFU. So I am going to power cycle the machine, and we're going to see what we get. A 20 volts, 0.07, 0.13, 0.16, 0.9, 0.3, 0.32, 2.25, 2 amps. That's acting like it's charging the battery, or there's a massive short somewhere. So, yeah, you can't see what I'm looking at, but it's right here. So we're done with this. That's the CPU is warm. That usually means, okay. Do we have CPU vCore? Because I think this is fixed, Chris. Let's see.
Shit, I don't know what happened.
Look, the Apple logo is on. It was in DFU.
I just wanted to, you know, make you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Really.
Let's see what happens. I don't think it's going to boot in this enclosure. This enclosure is really crappy. What is this heart thing? I've never seen this before. It's bizarre. It works. It's booted, and I just kind of docked somewhere. Look. Oh. Oh well. Yeah. Plug this back in. This is a test enclosure, by the way. Let's see. So it was the one CD that I replaced. It was just being weird because that cable was screwed up, the amp meter.
Shit. It might be the reason why. Actually, I had a bad part,
Maybe.
like the USB.
Well, no, I did the same thing. That's what's weird.
I really don't.
Me neither. But it's fixed. You get to reassemble it. That's your punishment.
Okay.
Let's see if it actually boots. Yeah, look. It boots in the OS. Okay, this is fixed. That's one down. Okay. That's weird because no, I didn't do anything other than DFU. It's so weird.
Since we had since I left the jumper,
Yeah.
forcing jumper,
Yeah.
it means I was doing that before.
Yeah. And it failed. I don't know. Maybe something in the enclosures. No, you would have used this enclosure.
Yeah.
How weird. Oh, okay. Well.
Did you do it once or twice?
Once, and it worked.
Well, he probably did it once too.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do it multiple times.
Yeah, but I'm doing that multiple
Oh, you do it
times.
all the time.
Sometimes I'm even leaving this for another day.
Yeah. I don't know, well,
Okay, we're gonna grab our next one.
say that you fixed something you could have on the street.
I didn't do anything.
That's bad.
That's bad.
I'm losing viewers by the moment. It started at like 80, now it's at 55.
Oh no.
What is it usually, like 300?
With Lewis?
Yeah.
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 It's like 300, maybe 500.
Yeah.
Take your shirt off.
I would lose more. Here's the board, and then the screws are right here. $51 now. Keeps dropping. It's this.
No. Lewis has to make the video of a little food figure or something.
Yeah. It's that one. Okay,
Okay.
next one. Let me pick another one. Let me pick a good one.
Next one. Now you can fix this one.
No. None of that. D34. I messed up. I didn't put the. No, that's not the one I'm looking for. I'm looking for this one. I want to cherry pick a good one for stream. I don't want a nonsense one.
Oh, in my queue you have one.
Really? I'll take one. Pick a good one.
I'm not sure which one it was.
Someone says, I really hope that you have a payroll number there. Question.
Yeah, so this one might be easy, but not
Let's see.
necessarily. I
Okay.
didn't check the whole thing.
Okay.
I
Well-
fixed the backlight circuit, no backlight.
The T2 has flux around it.
Yeah, there is a flex around it. Someone else worked on it
Oh,
before.
boy.
21 volts on backlight. It might be a screen because someone replaced the screen before. but
Interesting.
who knows? And take a look. They replaced everything. The backlight, keyboard backlight
Oh,
is
gosh.
missing, of course. Yeah.
Flux around the PMIC, flux around the ISL. Corrosion around a CD3215.
It might be only the screen, really.
Yeah. This is a nonsense one. I'm looking for this 2442. Yeah, no, this is bullshit. No. You're not gonna. No.
Okay, another one.
Okay. I'm gonna pick one.
I don't remember.
I have stuff. I have a queue to fix before I can leave here. I'm gonna be stuck in Texas if I don't clear this. Here we go. This is a good one. I got a good one.
I'm curious what happened here.
I don't know.
I think it had to be, actually it had to be bad CD.
Probably, because that's the only thing I did to it. Okay. Alright, we are going to disassemble this and see what's going on with it. So, this is a 2338. This is an M1 or M2. M1 or M2. Catherine is here. Hello, Catherine. They don't want me, they want the cat. They said, I have to admit something. I watched Lewis for anti-corruption, right to repair stuff, and his cat. Goodbye. We're all really just here for Mr. Clinton. Someone says, so Tim, are you liking 105 plus? Well, I'm pretty used to it, because where I live is pretty much the same. Okay, so A2338, that does not turn on. Most commonly, what we see on these is corrosion on the Wi-Fi IC. It's pretty common, and usually when that happens, you have a shorted capacitor. Sometimes you'll get max fan spin, other times you won't. So I'm going to plug this in, see what it takes. The hot air nozzle is right in the way here. Okay, so I have nothing. There we go. Okay, so it is just boot looping, as you can see there. Okay, I could work with that. I'm starting to think Lewis has been kidnapped by Apple, and Apple has replaced all Lewis's stuff, and we're really watching pro Apple content now. I don't know about that. Chris, what do you think? Are you Chris, did you design the A2141 board and put the SSD regulator at the very edge?
I don't know anything about that.
Uh-huh. You don't know anything. You don't know anything about that.
I do not know anything.
Oh, I didn't even have it on there. Oh well.
What?
I didn't even switch the camera. Oh well. I'm dumb. A board repair without swearing. Well, we'll see. This is pretty easy so far. The kind of repairs I get at my shop are much different. And this is definitely an M1, and how you can tell the M1 and M2 boards apart, if you're too lazy to look at the board numbers, look at the heatsink. The M1 heatsink has rounded corners, the M2 has jagged corners. Tweezers. T3 and tweezers. T6, T5, T3, T3. And they are both useless if anything on the SoC dies. Yes, that is very correct. The audio board on the A2337 will kill the M1, and I just had one the other day because it shorts PP bus to the speaker reset L line, and then it dies. And that's it. No fixing that. New board. Oh, we're definitely going to use the right amount of flux. We're going to use the right amount of TCRS 759 ASX. Definitely going to use the right amount of flux. Audio dying, killing the entire system. Never mind, I don't even want to know why they thought that was a good idea for placement. No, and it affects the 14 and 16 inches too. I just had someone with an M1 Max machine that had 64 gigabytes, and speaker amps got corroded, killed the M1. They needed their data. They can't get their data because the M1 is dead. And the encryption key is on the M1, so if the M1 dies, you're not getting data. Okay, now this board is pretty clean, so I'm curious if this is still going to have the boot looping behavior. And the very first thing I'm going to do is look at the USB jack, because they said that the board initially worked and then it stopped working after 2 weeks in the tickets. And typically that's, you know, very common with corrosion, but the board looks awfully clean. I could be wrong. It could be a coincidental failure and we have something else wrong with the board, but I would probably say we have an issue with our USB-C ports, and I stand by that statement because they are corroded. So the first thing I'm going to do is plug in our known good right here, and we're going to see what happens. So we are going to plug this in right here, and we're going to see what it does. And as you can see now, 20 volts, and it's booting essentially, or not. Yeah, if I bump this cable, it'll shut off, but yeah, this is pretty much what M1s do when they're booting. They're very low amperage, amp draw. Or not. No, maybe not. This has weird behavior. Let's try the other port. .20 volts, 0.04. 0.05, 0.08. The M1s are really tricky because oftentimes they will do this when they're booting. This is like their booting current. Yeah, 0.16. This is probably already showing an Apple logo or an OS. Yeah, we're definitely booting at this point. So this looks like just a bad USB-C port, honestly. I don't see anything else wrong in here. I'm going to go ahead and just look it over real quick. And you guys could probably see this as well. But the board is very clean. There's no liquid on it. There's a little tiny drop near the Wi-Fi right here, but that's not going to do anything. That's not corroded. That's not of any concern. That's just Q-tip and alcohol, and that's it. So we're just going to clean that. There's really nothing to do here. I'm going to go ahead and replace the USB-C port, and that's pretty much it. So I'll be right back. I'm going to grab a port. What happened? It's this damn thing. It's not that charger. I know that charger's bad. It's been acting up all week. It needs a battery? Oh, at least it's fixed. At least they get their data. Okay, we have our charge port. And we're going to get this installed. And I'm willing to bet this is going to boot into the operating system with no issues. $23.38 to me is like the new $14.66. I really like them. I like fixing them. They're generally pretty straightforward. And the 2338, both the M2 and the M1 so far that I've seen, they fail in fixable ways. So if you're going to get a MacBook, probably a good choice. Come on. There we go. We really don't need everything. We just need the basics. And let's see. It's an Apple logo. I'm going to hide the... keep it hidden because I don't want to dox anybody. There you go. And they have massive water spots on their screen, but it does turn on and work now. There we go. On to the next one. Let me make some notes about this. And go from there. D21 is fine. Next ticket. I should bring my ThinkPad over there. This is inefficient.
You can put it here. It's gonna be here.
Yeah, that's fine. Anywhere's fine. No fun, no approval. I need a password. Can't work on that one yet. Customer, there we go. This one is
Sorry, Tim, do you know where the bottom cover is for the 2140?
it's in the slots. Yeah. Caleb is back. Caleb, you need to work for me again. Here we go, 2141. Logic board damage due to liquid spill confirmed by the Genius bar. Slot D11. Let's take a look at that one. A2141 is a terrible device. If anybody in chat owns a A2141 2019 MacBook Pro, my best advice is don't own one anymore and back up your data. But then if I say that, it's also kind of cruel to the person that might buy it because they're going to get screwed. 2141? That's yours?
No, yeah.
Oh, is you own an A2141? It's not good.
You know why?
Why?
Because I bought the whole thing very super cheap on Facebook Marketplace.
Okay. How cheap?
400 bucks.
That's expensive.
No, not for that spec. Take a look.
What is that?
i9, 64 gigs of RAM.
Okay, that's not that bad. Well, yeah, for 64 gigs of RAM. But it's gonna put conformal code on the 2v45 regulators. It's gonna die. Okay. So the very first thing to do is see what this takes. So this is, let's see. Let's plug in our USBC amp meter. Five volts, 20 volts, 0.6, 0.07, 0.3, 0.45. No trackpad click. Over an amp for a brief second. So something's up. Something weird is up. Probably just charging the battery. We're gonna see. Yeah, I'm gonna cover this with a shameless shill of my thermal paste here. And hang on a second. Caleb, they banished me to work at Secure Data? You got a job offer from Secure Data, Caleb? Are you kidding me? You better not take that offer, Caleb. I'll disown you. Yeah, drive savers. Yeah, we're not going to talk about drive savers. I got to remember I'm not on my own channel. I'm going to take, I don't want to dox this customer, so there we go. Well, oh no. Okay. Okay. I'm surprised this gets to 20 volts, but I have a good idea of what's wrong now. This looks terrible. We're just going to take the board out. T3. This looks fun. Yeah, and you know someone else has worked on it because they didn't even bother to tighten the screw. Like, they broke the stand off and just put it back. That was the Apple store that did that. We're assuming anyway, because that's what the customer said, is it went to the Apple store first. Caleb says, Tim, start rambling more. I am too tired to ramble. I am just fixing MacBooks, no rambling. We just fix MacBooks here, no rambling. Rambling or mumbling? I don't know. I'm probably more in a mumbling mood than a rambling mood with my energy level. But the good news is this board is almost out. This is one of the worst machines to disassemble in my opinion, and yeah. Yeah, there's just so many screws, there's so many cables, there's so many shields, it is a pain to disassemble. One of the many reasons to hate this machine. Okay, this isn't terrible. I thought it would be worse. So, one, let me set this down. I don't know. Okay, so let's see if anybody in chat can spot the problem. Yeah, there's that. You see it, Chris? Can you fix this one? Focus. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look under the microscope. So I'm going to switch over to microscope here, and we are going to have a look. So, first and foremost, we need to up this brightness for the blind. Chris has much better eyesight than me. No, it's fine. All good. Alright, so here's what we're looking at. Looks fun. Now this had 20 volts. Oh, the main thing is I want to clear some of this corrosion. And honestly, there's just so much superficial corrosion. What I'm going to do is just dip this portion in the ultrasonic cleaner and look and see how bad it is. Because when stuff is this bad, this corroded, it kind of helps to see what we're getting into. So, here is your warning for headphone users. This is not going to be fun for you. You've had your warning. Okay. So we're back. We just have to dry this off a little bit, and you could see the difference already. It looks a whole lot better than it did. Now, if we were to put flux on that, it's just really going to just turn into a big mess when it's that bad. Just want to dry this off with some hot air. Some probe points over here got hit, but again, it doesn't look overly terrible. As I said to the people in chat, I was turning on the ultrasonic cleaner. I gave you your fair warning. That's what happens. That's what ultrasonic cleaners do. Sound like a rocket launch on a home theater. Yep. That's why I gave you guys a fair warning. So we have some corroded touch bar components. USBC area looks, I mean, not good, but I've seen worse. There's one capacitor that will typically short PP bus to ground, and their SSD voltage regulator on this side didn't look the best. Didn't look corroded, but it had some like dust and junk by it, and they do die after that sometimes. So I want to double check resistance to ground on our SSD area. Now, we should have around 60 ohms or higher. Higher the better, and we have 400 something kilo ohms, so we're good. So with 400 kilo ohms, our SSD is fine. This should be fixable. Next thing I want to do is, now that the corrosion is cleaned, let's see if it works, okay? Because sometimes when you have corrosion like that, it will prevent it from turning on, and it really just needs a cleaning, and we'll see. So we are at 5 volts, 20 volts, 0.06, 0.04, 0.09, 0.20, 0.44, 71, 42, and now we should transition to about an amp if it's going to boot. 0.65, a little unusual. 0.58, 2.20 amps, 2.62, 2.31. That is way too much amperage usually for Chris. 2 point something amps on a 2141 board booting on the bench. That's too high, isn't it?
2.5?
Yeah.
Without the button.
Yeah.
Too high.
Yeah. 0.95.
Wait a second. What
It could.
GPU is there? Because
It,
if you have
yeah.
You have special GPU
Yep.
here. So
Yep. So that's normal. This is booting. So one good way to test if a MacBook is actually booting into the operating system, or I shouldn't say booting into the operating system, but more like posting, is you measure CPU vCore, and you should have, if it's posting, and I'm going to demonstrate this behavior here. Idiot. Let's change this to the right. So yeah, you should have 0.6, around 0.6. Now, when a board hangs on post, I want you to watch what CPU vCore does, okay? Watch what CPU vCore does. I just plugged it in again. Watch what it does here. So the board is still powering up, but you're going to see CPU V-core is going to be about 1 volt or 0.9 to 1 volt, and it's going to drop, okay? Okay, 0.9, 0.8, and as it posts, it's going to drop down even more. So as the CPU posts and there's a load on it, it drops that voltage down a bit. There you go. Okay, that's what a posting board looks like. So this should theoretically be working. And it had a lot of corrosion here, so undoubtedly. We still have work to do, but it's not terrible. It's not as bad as, you know, as I thought it would be. So we're going to replace some of those nasty looking components. I'm going to get the heatsink off, and this is going to get a good ultrasonic bath after, and this is going to be good to go. Maybe where we might need a new touch bar, it's hard to say, but at a minimum, definitely this. $46, Steve. Okay, so I wanted to get the heatsink off because there's some areas right here that I want to look at, and I also don't want that heat to be transferred to our CPU through our heat pipe. So I'm going to have a look right here. Now, majority of this is by connectors, and let's see, our touch bar connector, kind of hard to tell. This microscope is a lot darker than I'm used to. No, we could save this. This is not a problem to save. Lid angle sensor looks okay as far as the connector wise. And some of these components by the touch bar have to go. Now here's a trick when you're working near connectors like this. These nylon connectors will melt at around 265 Celsius. We just want to be below that when we're soldering. So this is NC75, not NC, just 759 ASX flux. This is not Amtech. This is my own company's flux that I have formulated and manufacture. And in my opinion, it is better than Amtech. But to each to their own. So I'm going to turn my hot air down. We'll go, you have to remember there's going to be some loss here. So I'm just going to go around 270 in max air because there's some temperature loss with these bent nozzles. And it will take significantly longer, but you won't melt your connector getting these off. There we go. There's one. Actually, all of these are going to go. There we go. That's that. So now we just need to touch up these pads right here. Get a little more flux down here. I should do a comparison right now on NC559 to this, so we're going to do more, but I should just do a little comparison. So just kind of want to clean this oxidation. There's a wire stuck to this. Where's the solder? Here it is, right in front of my damn face, of course, as always. Chris, I don't know how you work with such dark of a microscope. Huh? What?
It's the Barlow that he
The barrel, yeah.
It's a 0.5?
he probably uses
Point 5 or 7.
I use a 0.7. It's nowhere near.
Maybe you moved
Yeah,
it.
I said the same thing, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not blind.
Right? There we go. That's better.
Where are you?
Alright, these resistors have to go too, I think. One can stay. This one can stay, but these, yeah, these are done. Actually, all of these, screw it. Just replace that whole row of components. Not a big deal. That's all set. We're going to go ahead and get a donor board. We're going to replace those. Hey, 2141 donor. Looks good. Someone says, open your pupils wider to make it brighter. Oh, that's an interesting talent. Some more flux.
You guys can
Preheating the donor board. And again, we're working at a really low temperature so we don't melt these connectors. And I'm not really worried about how pretty they are aligned right now, because they'll pull themselves into place when we're done. There's another one. You leaving, Chris?
Yeah.
All right. See ya.
Because you as well.
Tomorrow at 7 p.m. at night.
So have a great flight.
Okay. Nice meeting you.
It was nice to meet you, man.
Likewise.
And I hope I'm gonna visit you soon.
Yeah, sounds good. If you're in
Yeah.
California.
We're gonna be in California like in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Since today.
Yeah.
So
Sounds
see you
good.
then.
Sounds good.
Oh shit.
All right.
Do you have
We're good.
work?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
So,
Take care.
all right. See you later.
See you.
Who was that?
I'm not gonna forget you to take 21 for the month.
Okay. This takes longer to do it this way, but you know what? It beats beats melting the connector. Come on. Go. Only a couple more to go. Come on, there we go. One last one of the pain ones. Looks to be good. Alright, so a couple of the pins on here could use a little touching up. Nothing major. And maybe this diode right here. No, that's fine. It's just the surface. It'll be fine with that resistor. Just want to touch up the resistor. And no, I'm going to have to replace that. Look at that. Yeah, and probably that diode too. I'm just going to replace it preemptively. I don't want this to come back. Touch bar, touch connector. Look at that. Beautiful. Should be good to go. Sometimes when the connectors get a little melty, I'll just take a little X-Acto knife and let's find one in here. Let's see. Yeah, touching up pins like that, sometimes you just get a little bit, yeah, not a big deal. But we want to see, so, you know, trim this a little bit just so I can see. And it's fine. So there's that. We have our resistor next. Touch up that pad. Come on, get solder on it. Come on, there we go. That's good to go. Gonna yank this diode off. Honestly, I'm thinking if I could nudge it and it... Yeah, this is fine. There's no need to replace this. There we go. Yeah, that's not really something that's gonna die from liquid. Come on, little resistor, come off the donor board. Just like so. Okay, now the CD3217 I'm a little worried about. There's usually corrosion under them, but there's a couple particular capacitors that I want to make sure are going to be okay, so we want to replace these. So this is the main one I'm worried here. That's on PP bus. You can see it's already falling apart, and those capacitors do like to short to ground, so I don't want to take a risk there, so we're going to remove it. The benefit is it's going to be a lot quicker because I don't have to use such a low temperature. And also we want to get a good reflow on that CD3217. It's actually 3 capacitors. There's that. Some more flux. Famous last words, 99% bet it's good. No, the thing is that diode can't really die. If the solder connections are good, then it's not going to fail. And that's what I did. I nudged it, I moved it over to look at the solder joints. The solder joints were fine. There's zero chance that it's dead from liquid. It's just not going to happen. It's fine. It is 100% fine. Alright, so in this case, the pad is totally gone for that capacitor. Now, let's talk about what a capacitor does. The whole point of a ceramic capacitor like this is to reduce noise in the line. Okay, well now the pad is gone, the via is gone, so I have to run a wire to that capacitor. Now a capacitor is going to remove some amount of noise, and a wire is going to introduce noise into the circuit. So what should I do? Should I run a wire to that capacitor, or should I just leave it off? Well, the answer is just leave it off, because if I were to run a wire to it, we're going to introduce more noise into the line than it's even worth. It's just not worth it. That capacitor is not important. We're just going to leave it off. And that is completely fine. Probably 90%, 95, 99% of electronics engineers will agree with me. There's that. So we should be good. I'm just gonna let it cool down, then gonna double check, make sure everything's good again, make sure it's posting, and that's pretty much it for this one. I'm probably gonna cut the stream off because it is getting kind of late for me, and I want to get going. So let's go ahead and let it cool down. We never want to turn on a board that is burning hot. I'm gonna set the heatsink on it because I don't want it to overheat. Is that get our And we're cool enough now. And you guys can see this 20 volts, 0.07. Right there is where you're looking, right there. I'm going to measure CPU V core and see if it drops down. Turn the meter on. It might still be warm enough to trip a sensor. Nope, 0.7 volts. We're good to go. So this is fixed. And that's pretty much it for this one. See you in the next one, either on my channel or here. I'll be coming back here in a few months anyway. But anyway, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next stream or video.